Hello. Would I recommend Pop! OS for the average computer user? When talking about the average computer user, normally at the start of these videos I talk about how downloading the operating system and creating the installation media is kind of a step beyond what they're capable of doing. However, System 76 sells hardware with Pop! OS already installed. I can't fault System 76 for not giving a explanation on how to create the installation media for Pop! OS. That said, I personally don't have the kind of cash needed to purchase a Lemur or Meerkat computer from System 76 just to demo their operating system, so I'm going to go ahead and do this in VirtualBox. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, the installation is very simple. There's not a whole lot of questions here. My main hang-up was at the password phase. It would give different alerts, and the impression that I got is that it would not accept those passwords. It turned out to be not an issue. It would take whatever I had put in there. It just, the alerts looked like they would not have been accepted, which for the average person would have been confusing. I can say for myself, I found it somewhat confusing. The overall installation took less than 2 minutes. I was very impressed at this, at how quick this was. Most Debian-based distros with their installation, I see several minutes for these installs to go through. After restarting, of course, the first thing that you'll probably notice is VirtualBox is all kind of messed up for the screen resolution, so I'll go ahead and change that and go through the initial welcoming. I just do the default settings just because that's what I would expect most average people to do. I did find setting the time zone to be a bit annoying, as I tried to click on the central time and it would jump between the different time zones on either side of central, or it would jump up to Canada or down to Mexico. It was actually kind of difficult to find Chicago in there. As far as VirtualBox goes, I did eventually get that corrected. I attempted to install the DKMS drivers through the store. However, after restarting, the VirtualBox guest drivers were, not enabled or what was going on there. So I went ahead and just installed the guest edition drivers the old-fashioned way. The average person, of course, would not have to worry about that unless, of course, they were attempting to learn how to do this in VirtualBox. For installed applications, I'm very happy to say that they put the main applications that most people will use on the taskbar at the bottom of the screen. Average people, when using a computer, the things that are put directly in front of them are the applications that they will be using. Anything outside of that, if they have to go into a menu to find it, is for many people a bridge too far. It is nice, though, that there is the email client with Geary, which is a fine email application. Thunderbird would be a little bit more well known for average people, but Geary does work fine for me. Personally speaking, if I were to choose a normal mail client for an end user on Linux in a GNOME-based desktop, I would probably go with Evolution. Geary, I have found, has a tendency to get slower with larger inboxes, which for a lot of people, they don't really empty their inbox. So as it turns from tens to hundreds to thousands of emails, Geary kind of gets a little slow. It's great to see LibreOffice already installed. That is to be expected for most desktop-based Linux distros these days. And I was very happy to find that Zoom was available in the Pop shop for easy installation. That is something that has been surprisingly hard to find in a lot of Linux distros. And I am aware that Zoom is not open source software. However, for average people, it is something to be expected. One of the things that's being promoted and kind of shown as being something that really makes the Cosmic desktop for Pop! OS stand out is the tiling mode. For the average user, if they find themselves in this mode, they may just find themselves stuck in it or calling their technical friend to try to explain that things aren't the way they expect them to be. Personally, I work full-time in i3 Window Manager, so I could, maybe tweak Pop's tiling to make it a little more to my own liking. However, I'm still very happy in i3, and going from a full tiling window manager to GNOME with tiling added into it, it doesn't have as much of the functionality that I would look for. And I found some of the shortcuts, while they make sense if you think about it, they were confusing to me. Such as, I wanted one of the windows to be full screen, so I pressed Super F, and it turns out that was not what I needed to be. That turned out to be the file manager. What I needed to press was Super M for maximize instead. Now I can adjust and I could learn this, but I'm kind of set in my ways and I'm happy where I am. So the tiling here isn't really a big draw for me. Just as a test, I did try installing Vim from the Pop Shop, and there were 2 versions of Vim available to me, and without clicking into them, you didn't know what version you were getting, if you were getting the Debian package or if you were getting a flat pack. So I just installed one to see what would happen. And what I found was that Vim was not available in the terminal, but it was showing up in the start menu, and it also installed gvim. Now this was very strange to me, so I poked around at it a little bit and before I figured out just what was going on. Not every application needs to be a flat pack. I can understand it for larger applications with a lot of dependencies that it would make sense to sandbox that application and make it so that it's a little portable if you need to move it from, machine to machine. Vim is not one of those applications. Having 2 options there is convoluted and possibly confusing to the end user. So when I look at that and I see that it's there, it's just extra noise. I don't think it needs to be there. When I install Vim, I'm not expecting gvim to be installed as well. It's just kind of an overall kind of a silly thing that just overall I seem to have put more time into that than I really should have. Installing Vim should install Vim. I don't need a flat pack. I think for the average user that they would either find themselves using Pop! OS 2 possible ways. One is that they have a technical family member who's reloading their computer, just tired of dealing with, their family member infecting their computer with viruses and getting these frequent calls. Or maybe they're curious about Linux and they want to buy something and they're looking for an easy solution where things are already installed. Buying direct from System 76 I think would be a great option for the average computer user, and I think that would be a great thing to spread more support to System 76. Typically when I'm making a recommendation on whether I think that the average user would be able to use a particular operating system, I don't normally compare what I think their past experiences would be to what mine are, which would be, Windows and Mac. What I have found is that more people have their current experiences with using a computer is more akin to using a smartphone or a tablet. And I think that Pop! OS hits all the right marks as far as giving that very upfront presentation with the icons across the taskbar on the bottom and a nice, clean, polished look that I think the average computer user would come to expect, that I think I can actually recommend Pop! OS. Recommending an operating system is something of a first for me, so I'm not really sure where to go with that other than support System 76. If you'd like to hear more from me, if you'd like me to talk more Linux or talk about something else, go ahead and give me a like and subscribe at the bottom, and I'll keep talking. All right. Thank you much.